There was an awesome stat going around Indiana Twitter where I think it was Greg Harvey had it. Indiana is the only FBS team in the last 30 years to have 1,300 plus rush and pass yards and 2 or fewer turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, they've been so good. It's just it's hard to fathom how good they've been, and even the numbers from going to this, like, in my opinion, this Iowa game. Like, I didn't think that the numbers were as bad. They just didn't throw as much as I thought they were going to. And I write about this, but like I think that part of that was also that they felt like their defense was on the field a lot, and they needed to kind of like run the ball to also bleed the clock. And so yeah, I mean, it's Mendoza has been great. It's almost like comical to think that we're 5-0 again. I don't think they've been 5-0 since I've been a fan ever, and they've been 5-0 2 years in a row. It's just absolutely wild.
Yeah, it's insane. By the way, Kike Hernandez base hit. Mr. October's back. He's heating up. Don't worry about it.
Love Kike.
Fernando, I think his best game was the Iowa game, in my opinion. Nothing was going right pass pro wise. Still was able to make the plays. We talked that whole shot to EJ down the field, different hash, taking that shot, hitting Surratt in stride, and then obviously the game-winning touchdown play. I mean, he was 13 for 23 doesn't look pretty when you watch the game. Like, that is a hell of a stat.
Well, and he also had he also had a throw to EJ where I thought he led him a little bit. EJ had beaten the coverage and it was down the sideline, and if he just lays it out there a little bit more, it's a touchdown. Or if he throws back shoulder, it's pass interference or a tough catch. But
there was a blown pass interference call on the Omar Cooper.
I was about to say, so there's two plays that game could have been much different. That game could have been actually much different than we remember it if either of those plays are made.
Yeah. And we outgained them by 100 yards, and then you see have you seen how bad did we get beat? Like the EPA metric comparing them, like big margin.
Yeah, that was crazy
comparatively to the other scores that were around them. So
they had a bigger margin than the South Carolina Kentucky game, which literally made no sense to me. I watched the South Carolina Kentucky game live. Like, Carolina beat the hell out of them. I don't understand how EPA works, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not.
It's not EPA. It's like success rate or something like that.
Correct.
Net success rate.
I'm not that into it. I feel like I look at a lot of the.
It's an interesting analytics guy. It's an interesting one to look at. I like that stuff. Obviously, it's not the end all be all for me. I like looking at the game and seeing, like, there's context to the game that's important, right? And a lot of that was Indiana was just on the road in Kinnick, and that's just going to make things very uncomfortable.
Well, and to the point Brenton's making in the chat, I think Iowa blitzed like 75% of the time. Like, it was an astronomically high rate of blitz, which is why I feel like Indiana was so confident calling a 7-man protection on that third down when they needed it. And just to think about that moment in isolation, to leave arguably the best receiver or one of the best receivers in the Big Ten on an island with a corner that your fans were telling us you're nervous about was definitely a decision. And just to your point, Brad, like, Mendoza, he was getting his ass kicked in that game up into the point where he got shoved into the cart that close to the sideline, like while like bleeding, all that stuff, and just to stand in the pocket over and over again and make the play when they needed it to was. Yeah, I have the utmost confidence in that leading us out in the field.
Yeah, Mendoza, just to Brenton's point in the chat, he was blitzed per PFF 66.7, so 2/3 of the time. On 20 of the 30 dropbacks, he was blitzed. And that is insane to me. But yeah, I mean, the other thing was that he wasn't, I think that Sig talked about it, them getting a little bit spooked. I guess on like a couple plays into the game when Bray Lynch got like just beaten pretty soundly or whatever. But they still made plays. And I thought that I talked about this in my piece here, but it's coming out, that should come out tomorrow. I thought Roman Hemby also, can we just talk about Roman Hemby, like big picture on Roman Hemby? Because that game is why you get Roman Hemby. That's why you have Roman Hemby. He was so good. He made a couple of plays where he was like 6-yard loss to like 9-yard gain. I just thought he was brilliant.
Yeah, he was the most important piece of that offense so far through 5 games. Obviously, Mendoza's like the the crown jewel, right? I'd say Roman Hemby's the engine. We gotta get that guy in the end zone. Legacy game at Oregon, just throwing that out there potentially. We'll see. Love to see him break out a big run at some point, and or 2 or 3 or 4.
Like even that play at the end of the half, where Indiana was all about running the clock down, and he ends up getting 20-something yards because Iowa just didn't want to tackle him. And like even just being an outlet in the pass game and how sure his hands are, and not being tackled by the first guy, like he's a demoralizing player to go up against. Where you look at his stats, and it's like, okay, he's averaging like 4.5 yards a carry. Like what gives? It's like you got to watch the guy play football. Like he is a very, I don't know if he's the most important piece on the offense when quarterback's the most important position on the field, but like, man, take quarterback out of it, and yeah, he's in the argument for sure.
Totally agree. Really, so happy he's on IU's team, or on our team. But you have to think about that he's always out there with the ones from everybody. So, it's not like, I know Kalen Black is as well, but like, we've talked about how good, Lee Beebe was. It sucks that he's down. I'm not really that surprised that they've gone back to just Black and Hemby. But man, if they didn't have Hemby, if they didn't have Hemby, they'd be in a world of hurt. But they do. So hopefully he stays healthy, and I'm very excited to see what he can do the rest of the way.
Do we want to talk about Notre Dame briefly, or do we just want to laugh at them and move on?
I just think to me. So when I went to IU, I had gone to a lot of BC. I grew up outside of Boston. Went to BC games, and then when I lived in Chicago or outside of Chicago, one of my best friends, his dad was a diehard Notre Dame fan. So I went to every BC Notre Dame game from when I was like in 7th grade until I was like a junior in high school or whatever. I think it was like 3 or 4 games. So I became like kind of like a fan of Notre Dame, and then I went to IU and I was friends with kids that were from northern Indiana, or like the region, and they're all Notre Dame fans. So I always kind of liked them, and I didn't have any issues with them until last year, and now I kind of do. And I think it's actually kind of hilarious the situation that they've found themselves in, because I think that CJ Carr is legit. And I think that they're not a good team, but
he's very good.
I just don't think. Yeah, but I just don't. They're not going to get any. They were yapping about IU having the bad wins and all that whatever nonsense, and they're going to have no ranked wins themselves, which is just like,
their resume is going to be worse than ours last year.
I mean, it's
just ironic.
The jokes write themselves.
The jokes do write themselves. Yep. The jokes do write themselves. All right, last little bit of smoke. Aiden Fisher up for the Jason Witten Man of the Year award. So shout out to Aiden Fisher.
Awesome kid. Yeah.
Oh, and Brian Haynes. Brian Haynes. Just dominating people on Twitter. That was hilarious.
He's really enjoying the bye week.
The guy loves Twitter, dude. He loves
it. Forget recruiting. He's just gonna. I mean, the one that I posted where the kid was like, "No, yeah, you're right. No problem, goat." Like it was just, I did not stop. I'm laying in bed laughing about that. It was just
that was so funny. He's like, "My bad, you're right."
Yeah,
respect. Thanks for engaging with me.
All right, I basically answered my own question on Twitter, but I want to pose the question to both of you guys. Jamie, I'll go to you first. How important is 5-0?
Well, I think it's incredibly important. I picked the Iowa game to be a loss. I thought that they would be. I mean, I obviously didn't think they would win by 53 or whatever it was against Illinois, but I picked the Iowa game to be a loss for the exact reason that they almost lost the game. Like I thought it was going to be just an absolute battle of two strengths going at each other, which was the defenses. But Iowa's a good team. I kind of I think I wasn't as appreciative as I thought. I was impressed with Gronowski. He made a couple of throws that I thought were really good. But 5-0 now, everything is in front of them. I know that's a stupid thing to say, but like, yeah, they could easily. I don't really care if they can get to 10 wins again. That would be insane to me. That would be insane. I don't care what happens. Obviously, they have a long way to go to get to 10 wins. We've seen Maryland; they kind of look like they have some fight in them. But just to start out 5-0 to get there with the wins that they've already had, it's a testament to the team. It's a testament to the coaching staff. The fans have been awesome. I have not gone to a game this year, but the fans have been awesome. So very excited. Everything's in front of the team. Can't wait for Oregon. I can't wait.
Yeah, 5-0 brings momentum to the program. I think this is basically like the best possible start for the team, given the context. Obviously, against ODU, we just didn't. We knew, like, during our preview of ODU, we previewed that, hey, this is a legit team looking to win, be contenders in the Sun Belt, like they could be very frisky. And then the result was still just left kind of a bad taste in your mouth, but now seeing them come to fruition as a legit group of 5 CFP contender, that makes, and then seeing that result in the back end and then seeing all the other results, I don't think the season could have gone any better at this point. And it's really good momentum to build up to Oregon. A lot to work on, which is always a good thing. Something I mentioned on the Iowa podcast, where it's like, yeah, okay, we have all these issues that Iowa, a great coaching staff, was able to expose. Oregon's probably going to try to do the same thing. So let's try to we got 2 weeks to fix it.
Yeah. Which set of film you think Dan Lanning and the boys are throwing on first? I can promise you, I know which one it is.
It's going to be Indiana, Iowa for sure.
It's going to be Indiana, Iowa first, and then it's probably going to be Indiana, Ohio State, and then it's probably going to be Indiana.
I made the same type of joke last week, but they're going to throw on Oregon, Penn State first, and then they're going to throw on Iowa, Indiana. But it's just how it goes.
No, I think 5-0 is a massive deal, and something that I thought it was interesting. Neither of you pointed out, but the fact that they can take this on the trail and go on the recruiting trail and here are all the stats that are like, this is the first time Indiana's done this. This is the first time Indiana's done this, undefeated in back-to-back seasons for the first time and ranked here and here. And all the SP plus metrics have them at this insane spot. And none of that changes for 2 weeks. This is the version of Indiana football that this coaching staff, who's already shown it's unbelievable at recruiting, and like we talked about it on Sunday, but one of the things that we know for a fact Brian Haynes is doing this week is he's going to go see Jaden Williams. And that's not surprising because he just picked up an Ohio State offer. And being able to go to that game with the momentum Indiana has is a massive deal. But that class of 2026 is loaded. And my guess is they're going to look to pick off some of these flips and some of the maybe more like talented guys that haven't committed yet, and then really try and build into the class of 2027. So to head into this this week period and then the next week of build-up period and have the ability to sell this version of the football team is insane, because the difference between 4-1 with a tough road loss at Iowa and 5-0 is massive.
Yeah, what's really great to see, just as the analytics guy, like all the computers really liking IU. Obviously, those preseason analytics don't mean shit, but as the year goes on and more data is filled into those models, they become more relevant. Obviously, the only thing that's relevant is the CFP at the end of the day. But those are telling, like, predictive models, telling you how good this team is. A lot of the computers, despite what the public was saying, how bad we were around 8 to 10 for a good chunk of that year last year. This year, we're on top 5 watch for a lot of these computer rankings, and that's just a really good, like, indicator, really good teller. Like, we knew this team was going to be better. The computers are telling us that. The play on the field is showing us that. So it's just to see it come to fruition is awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that the last thing I'll mention is, again, because I have it up here. They were last week. I think they were tied with Texas Tech, but they're still the number 1 team. They're by themselves now as the number 1 team graded by PFF. Just say, do you want to come play for a team like this? And it's going to be hard. I think that like the kid, the Williams kid, who, I mean, he looks like a legit player. Seems like a sideline linebacker if you just watch some of this stuff on Twitter or his Huddle videos. But he's from Massillon, Ohio. The draw for those kids to go to Ohio State is insane. So
yes, we'll see what they do. We'll see. I think it's significant that Indiana both offered and secured a commitment from him before he got the Ohio State offer.
Oh, I totally agree with you. I'm just saying that I think that is a draw. But
no, 100%. You're absolutely right.
Ohio State toward the end of toward the, this is kind of what they do. They see what people are doing and who is committed elsewhere and what those kids are doing, and they kind of try to pick them off with like they're doing with Jaden Williams. Like Peegs, or excuse me, 247 has him as an 87 3-star. But if you watch the kid play, I mean, he's so good, and he's like a heat-seeking missile, and he goes silent and silent. It's like, but my point with saying that is that like they can put on the tape of being like, you can be Aiden Fisher, you can be Elijah Hardy, you can be Bones Jones. Like these are guys that are actually right. These are guys that are actually doing it. Yes, you can do that at Ohio State as well, but you can do that at IU, and you're not really missing anything. Sure, you might not have like the absurd practice facility. Okay, you're still getting to play the same teams. It's the same, the same environments. I use electric all at home. So they have a ton to sell. They have the NIL to spend. I hope they keep the kid. But it is fun that you have teams like I saw Tennessee offered Parker Elmore as well as a tight end, who I think was coming off of like a ACL injury or whatever and didn't play. I
transfer rule.
What's that?
Transfer rule. He had to sit out.
Correct. That's what it was. Yeah. So he had to sit out. Correct. Yeah. I think he's gonna. I from what I've read, and don't take it as gospel, but from the message board, it seems like he's probably going to be staying at IU if IU is kind of wants him to. Which he was committed. I assumed that they wanted to. I assume they wanted to stay. And it's good that these bigger schools are poking around because I want to see what IU does. I want to see what happens if someone comes in with Cameron McHaney, who looks like an absolute monster at IMG, like a defensive lineman.
But if you're an interior defensive lineman and you look at the way this interior defensive line is playing, like how could you want to go to a different school?
What do you want to talk to Jalen Brewster? Is that his name? I think that's his name, right?
Yeah, that's exactly who I'm talking to, Mr. Brewster. Look at the way this interior offensive line's playing. No, there's a lot of big wigs in the.
You want to play with Mario Landino? Come to IU.
I like the fact that he was a Ball State. His dad was a Ball State teammate of Coach Haynes and Coach Eddie. I think that relationship means something, and it is largely why Indiana's in the conversation. But at the end of the day, that's a Texas kid who's getting a crazy amount of money, like supposedly to go to Texas Tech. So we'll see what happens. But hopefully Indiana can kind of get in the ballpark and make themselves a player in that situation, because that would be a massive addition.
I mean, it'd be the biggest addition in the history of IU. So I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be the biggest.